Not at the movies.
Hello once again everyone and welcome back. I am your host Natty and this is Nat at the Movies, the series where I take a look at a film and give my thoughts on it. Now, it's been some time, but I'm finally taking a look at another 1960s Doctor Who film, Daleks Invasion Earth 2150 AD. Quite the mouthful. It is the sequel to 1964's Doctor Who and the Daleks. I have taken a look at that one before. You can see my video to it there. But this week we will be taking a look at Dalek Invasion, so strap in and ready your TARDISes for we embark on our latest adventure. Allons-y! Some of you may remember, but the first film of this little series from the 1960s was a non-canon Doctor Who film called Doctor Who and the Daleks. I feel this film may be made because they already had the contracts all readied up and wished to see their option bought from the BBC for £500 be used. The first film didn't perform the best, or at least so I imagine. I wasn't around in the 60s, so I cannot attest to its success. And the creators probably didn't wish to make another film, but they were stuck with the rights and contracts that they had to do at least 2 more films. That's the feeling I get first off. Production of the film was complicated, for Amicus had to work around the ailing health of lead actor Peter Cushing, which made the writers rewrite the script to lessen his involvement in the film. Not a good sign for, the lead actor after all. There were multiple incidents on set, one example being a Dalek caught on fire. A stuntman broke his ankle during a scene in which his character was to die by Daleks whilst trying to escape them. An actor hurt his wrist punching through a windscreen of a van during his character's escape scene. Production was also completed 11 days behind schedule. The film had nearly 60% larger the budget of the first film, and it could be seen in the settings, which are a fair bit more interesting than the first film from what I can recall. But let's put that aside and actually get into the film itself. I must confess, the first time I watched this film, I fell asleep halfway through and only woke up near the end, so I honestly don't have much recollection of the film. This and its predecessor are so very similar, they merge in my mind a fair bit. So let's see what my thoughts are after a second attempt at viewing. Alright, so the film starts off with a policeman witnessing a group of burglars robbing a jewelry store. He runs to what appears at first to be a police box, but it is in fact the TARDIS. In the TARDIS, he encounters inventor Doctor who is accompanied by his niece Louise and granddaughter Susan, just as they are about to take off to the future. They time travel nearly 200 years into the future, landing in 2150 AD, where they find London in ruins and under the control of the Daleks. It is here that they find that some of the survivors have started a resistance movement while others have become Robomen. Doctor Who and the policeman become separated from Louise and Susan and become imprisoned on a Dalek ship. Once locked away, Doctor Who escapes, not knowing the Daleks use escapes to test their captives for becoming robots. Meanwhile, Susan and Louise are taken to a resistance base founded in the London Underground. It is here that a member suggests a plan to sneak into the Dalek ship under disguise to detonate bombs from the inside. Just as Doctor Who and the policeman are being taken to become robots, the rebels strike. Doctor Who escapes with rebel leader David, while the policeman and Louise get stuck inside the ship. Once back at base where Dortmund, the member who suggested the attack, and Susan are waiting, Weyler informs them that he saw Doctor Who escape. They decide to go to the outskirts of London to regroup. From here, the escape from London scene commences with the van. Dortmund is killed during the escape while the van is destroyed, but luckily Susan and Weyler escape before it is destroyed. Doctor Who and David arrive back at the now abandoned base to find no one there. They assume they went to the mining colony to investigate, and thus Doctor Who and David are off to the mining colony to find them there. So they hope. This is about where I began falling asleep my first viewing, just an FYI. Back on board the ship, the policeman and Louise are reunited, and as the ship lands, they escape through a waste chute. Now in the mining complex, they are attacked by a Robo-Man before a slave worker saves them and hides them in a tool shed for safety. Wyler and Susan, meanwhile, shelter in a cottage, but are soon betrayed by the occupants who rent them out to the Daleks, who then take Susan and Wyler to the mines. Near the mine, Doctor Who and David are confronted by a black market trader who agrees to smuggle them into the mine complex. By chance on their way, they are led to a tool shed where the policeman and Louise are hiding. Now reunited, they are told by a prisoner that the Daleks plan to bomb the mine in order to destroy the Earth's core, where the Daleks plan to implant a control device to allow alien pilots to fly the Earth around like a giant spaceship. Sci-fi at its finest, folks. Old plans of the mine's layout are shown, with the old shaft leading to a convergence of the Earth's magnetic poles. Realizing an explosion at this shaft would release enough energy to draw the metallic Daleks into the Earth's core. Again, sci-fi at its finest. Doctor Who asks the policeman and prisoner to deflect the bomb into this old shaft. He also orders Louise and David to lure the prisoners away from the mine. The black market trader betrays Doctor Who, however, and Doctor Who accepts to be led away, and as they march him off, the black market trader is in turn killed by the Daleks. Down in the mines, the policeman and prisoner work to build a deflection ramp, but in a fight with a Robo-Man, the prisoner is killed with the Robo-Man, both falling to their deaths. The policeman rushes back to the surface after then completing the ramp. Doctor Who, meanwhile, is taken to the mine's control center, where he meets Wyler and reunites with Susan. He seizes the radio connection to the Robo-Men and orders them to rise against the Daleks. In the ensuing rebellion, Doctor Who escapes with Wyler and Susan, while the slave workers flee the mine. The Daleks swiftly defeat the rebellion and release the bomb into the shaft. The device is deflected, however, and detonates at the convergence point of the poles. The Daleks are then pulled into the Earth's core and are destroyed. The Dalek ship, meanwhile, that was taking off is pulled back to the Earth and crashes into the mine, exploding. The travelers then meet back together to go back to the TARDIS. The policeman asks to be taken a few minutes before the robbery in order to arrest the burglar so he can get a promotion. That is where the film ends. As you can see, quite a lot occurs in the span of roughly 80 minutes. Modern TV shows would kill to have that much action packed into that time frame. Quite an impressive series of events for a single movie to take on. But now with the film complete, what were my thoughts on the movie? Let's roll into my conclusion to find out. Conclusion. So, what exactly are my thoughts on the film? Well, I do believe the film had great promise with it to be a great story, or at least an entertaining one. Its premise is a rather interesting one, at least to me. You just can't top classic science fiction's creativity. The idea of the Daleks having taken over the Earth and there being a good old-fashioned underground resistance movement is one I find rather interesting. For the first part of the film, that is. The film sets up the setting rather well, and there is obvious influences from the war back then in it. I got slightly invested in the world that was being shown here. I do think the film had a great idea going. I feel with just a bit more budget, the film could have been able to afford some more than it got. But, for what the film had, I must say it was an entertaining watch in the least. It is quite a film to experience. It may not be the greatest movie, but it will certainly do, especially if you're one who enjoys older movies. Thus, it gets my natty seal of approval. Watch it if you're curious to know what it's like. Have fun with your viewing experience. What happened from here? Well, the original plan was to make 3 movies. A third one to be based off the serial The Chase from classic Doctor Who was scrapped as this film didn't fare well in the box office, so a third film was never created. Amicus itself would go out of business in the late 70s, but not before releasing multiple horror and thriller films. They often used the same style and actors as the more well-known Hammer Film Productions, which is a whole other bag of interest. I could do a whole video about Amicus and Hammer, but for the sake of this video, we only need to know that they never did produce any other Doctor Who films. The rights going back to the BBC, and never again have we seen a full theatrical Doctor Who film. These two movies sure were an interesting bit of film history for what they were. Perhaps I educated you some on them. Perhaps I influenced some to watch the movies for themselves. Who knows? But I hope you enjoy them to some extent. So yes, now with the film watched and rewatched, I do think the film could do it for you. Especially if you enjoy older movies. Watch it if you desire. I am sure it's available at least somewhere for your viewing pleasure. I originally watched it via Riff Tracks just like the last time, but I am sure you can find the movie on its own at your own leisure. It was certainly an interesting one and quite ambitious for its time. The sheer amount of events that transpired would take roughly 2 or 3 episodes of modern Doctor Who on its own. Hope you enjoyed my thoughts on it and perhaps interested you in watching the movie for yourself. I am sure you will be able to pick up your own thoughts on it that I wasn't able to crack into. If you watched the film before yourself, let me know. I would love to hear what everyone thinks of this movie. This has been Natty, and I hope you all had a very lovely day at the movies with me. Take care and farewell.